the best ways that I've found to check out things all over the fretboard to really figure out if I know something and I feel comfortable with it is by the practice of free play. Now, before I discuss that, I want to remind you to subscribe. Now, before I discuss that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and don't forget to leave a comment below about topics you'd like for me to discuss in upcoming videos. So, the idea of just freely playing seems a little bit contradictory to what you would expect when it comes to practicing. Usually when we're trying to practice something, we have very set metrics that we want to try to hit. We have a certain tempo that we want to play at, maybe a particular rhythm that we're choosing. There's, in the case of scales, you could be talking about running certain patterns through a scale. Number one, a particular scale. Then those patterns that you want to run through a scale, the tempo, do you want to run the triads, do you want to run the sevenths? There's so many different things that you could really break down in order to have a list of things that you can work on to build up the knowledge of the specific item that you're trying to work on. Now, in the beginning of the video, what you were hearing is a lot of half-whole diminished. In particular, I was thinking of C half-whole diminished. Now, at times I wasn't playing just C half-whole diminished. I would mix in other things as well. But that's the idea. I've taken a scale, which is the half-whole diminished, and I've openly sat down with, you heard a drum backing track, and all I did was just explore the fretboard. I want to figure out if I'm trying to use it in a musical situation, like really trying to play and openly explore and use this particular thing, which is the scale, in my musical dialogue. Am I able to do it or not? Now, it's one thing to say, okay, let's put on the metronome and let's practice playing the scale. Let's make sure we have certain fingerings that we can use at first, and then over time we try to break that down into more of a freeing way of playing, not limited to shapes or patterns necessarily, but just knowing where things are on the fretboard. We have the foundation that we build first. But after you have that foundation, even while you're working on it, I would say that it's very important to go ahead and to put in, towards the end of your practice, free play. When you're able to put something in an application mode, such as this freely playing, although it does have its limitation, and this is kind of related back to some things that I've mentioned in the past with limited creativity, it is in that same category. But I'm not putting a lot of limitations on my creativity, other than the fact that I'm going to use a lot of this skill in my practice when I'm improvising. So when you allow for yourself to do that and to freely improvise and to freely use it to see what will happen, that's going to give you some good indicators on what the next step is, potentially, that you need to take to solidify your knowledge of this particular item in the course of your practice in the upcoming days, weeks, or months. Another way that you could do this, which would be a real-world experience, such as actually going to a gig and playing and seeing what happens. You know, I've had a lot of solo guitar gigs, and there's been several of them that could last anywhere in the range of 2 to 4 hours. And what I learned is that when you have to sit down without your usual setup of here's the metronome, here's what I'm working on, when you sit down and you actually just play, don't have this set thing that you're thinking of this is the exercise I'm working on, but you really have to sit down and just play, then you start to figure out really quickly, what you start to figure out fairly quick is there are things that maybe you were feeling confident with, and in a real world setting, they're not as familiar as what you thought they were. You didn't know some of these things as much as you thought you did. Now, by taking this concept of free play and applying it towards the end of your practice, this is going to allow you to do that in a controlled environment where you're not playing in front of people. Although I wouldn't say that you shouldn't go out and still freely improvise, because that's the idea of when you're out playing, is that you're trying to openly communicate and have a musical dialogue with other musicians. Or in the case of just you playing by yourself, you are creating the atmosphere for the listener. So I'm not discounting that, but if you can help to get yourself into that mindset by scheduling that time into your practice, then when it comes time to actually go out and play, then you may not be caught off guard. So hopefully you found this video useful, and if so, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, don't forget to leave a comment on ideas for future videos. Also check the links down in the description. I have some lesson videos that are available on musiclessons.com, and I also have some other links that may be of interest to you. Now, I'm going to get back at playing and practicing, so thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you next time.